apa jangan. Hadirin yang dimuliakan, majlis akan bermula sebentar lagi. Untuk itu diminta para hadirin untuk mengambil tempat duduk masing-masing. Bagi melancarkan majlis, sedikit peringatan mesra untuk para tetamu. Mohon kerjasama semua untuk memastikan telefon bimbit ditetapkan kepada mod senyap sepanjang program berlangsung. Perarakan masuk div-div terhormat ke dalam Dewan akan bermula sebentar lagi. Bagi perarakan masuk Profesor yang kita raikan, saya mohon kerjasama dari tetamu untuk berdiri dan terus berdiri sehingga kita menyanyikan lagu Negaraku dan Wawasan Setia Warga UiTM. Terima kasih di atas kerjasama semua. Mengumumkan ketibaan barisan div-div kehormat yang berusaha Profesor Town Planner Dr. Jamalul Laili Abdullah, Timbalan Naib Chancellor Jaringan Industri, Community dan Alumni UiTM, Pengurusan Tertinggi UiTM dan jemputan kehormat dari industri. Mohon div-div kehormat dan para hadirin yang dihormati untuk berdiri. Div terhormat dan para tetamu dimohon untuk terus berdiri. Perarakan masuk yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Technologies Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi diiringi oleh graduan PhD seliaan beliau ke dalam Dewan. Para hadirin dimohon untuk terus berdiri. Majlis dengan ini diteruskan dengan nyanyian lagu Negaraku dan Wawasan Setia Warga UiTM.
Rakyat Bersatu kita warga UiTM, kita bangsa perkasa, taat dan setiaku untuk negara, penuh semangat wajar. Kita jangan mudah terlupa pengorbanan perjuangan anak bangsa. Kita jangan mudah terleka kemajuan keamanan yang ada. Kita berterima kasih pada pemimpin-pemimpin negara. Kita rasa penuh bersyukur kerahmatan kemuliaan darinya. Kamilah pendukung pewaris bangsa, kamilah pejalan bangsa Malaysia, kamilah warga berwawasan untuk negaraku.
Terima kasih dan para hadirin dipersilakan duduk. Majlis dengan ini diteruskan dengan menjemput graduan PhD di bawah seliaan yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi untuk naik ke atas pentas. Dipersilakan. Untuk pengetahuan, mereka ini merupakan sebahagian daripada graduan ijazah kedoktoran dalam bidang alam bina di bawah seliaan yang berusaha Profesor dari tahun 2000 sehingga kini. Alhamdulillah, sebanyak 26 orang pelajar seliaan yang berusaha Profesor telah berjaya menamatkan pengajian mereka dengan cemerlang. Kini, 7 pelajar masih meneruskan pengajian ijazah kedoktoran dalam pelbagai bidang kepakaran alam bina. Dengan izin Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala melalui bimbingan ilmu dan kepakaran dan juga pengalaman yang telah diberikan oleh yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi, mereka telah mencapai kecemerlangan dalam bidang masing-masing. Kini mereka meneruskan kerjaya sebagai pensyarah kanan di Universiti Awam seperti UiTM, UTM dan UTHM. Sementara yang lain merupakan penyelidik di jabatan-jabatan kerajaan dan swasta. Mohon barisan bekas pelajar untuk memberi salam hormat kepada yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Seterusnya kepada Div-Div kehormat. Dipersilakan. Terima kasih. Ini adalah sebahagian daripada lakaran kejayaan yang telah ditempa oleh yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi dan menjadi sebahagian daripada kejayaan di dalam sejarah kerjaya mereka ketika mereka bergelar sebagai pelajar di UiTM dan dalam bidang masing-masing. Salam bersua pemanis kata, tersimpul ikatan jalinan mesra. Assalamualaikum pembuka bicara. Selamat datang untuk semua. Saya selaku pengacara majlis ingin mengalu-alukan kehadiran barisan Div-Div kehormat, pengurusan tertinggi UiTM dan jemputan kehormat daripada industri, yang berusaha Profesor, yang berusaha Profesor Madya, yang berbahagia Datuk, Doktor, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan ke majlis syarahan Profesor bagi meraikan seorang cendekiawan harta tanah yang tidak asing lagi, Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Bagi memberkati majlis kita pada hari ini, majlis menjemput saudara Surveyor Kolej Sahri untuk memimpin bacaan doa. Dipersilakan.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan katsiran tayyiban mubarakan fi. Hamdan yu'afi ni'mah wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu ya kami ya Rabbal jalali wal ikram wa sultan. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma ya zal jalali wal ikram. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami bersyukur kepadamu dengan izin-Mu jua kami dapat berkumpul pada hari ini. Oleh itu, Engkau jadikanlah hari ini lebih baik daripada hari kami yang terdahulu. Jadikanlah akidah kami semakin maju dan semakin kukuh. Ibadah kami semakin bertambah, akhlak kami semakin cemerlang, rezeki kami semakin luas dan halal, umur kami umur yang berkati dan amalan kami amalan yang diredai. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, sebenar dengan program syarahan Profesor ini juga kami memohon kepada hadrat-Mu, Ya Allah. Engkau berkatilah majlis ini, Engkau rahmatilah sekalian yang hadir pada majlis hari ini. Jadikanlah segala usaha dan amalan kami ini sebagai amalan yang Engkau redai. Ilhamkanlah dalam fikiran kami idea-idea yang bernas, kreatif, kritis, positif, mantap dan berpandangan jauh. Ya Malik, Ya Kudus, kurniakanlah kepada kami sifat kesungguhan dan ketekunan pada diri kami untuk merangka strategi bagi mencapai kecemerlangan serta matlamat wawasan sebagaimana yang dicita-citakan. Kau pemudahkanlah urusan kami, urusan yang kami rancang dan urusan kami tidak rancang, Ya Allah. Kau pemudahkanlah urusan kami yang kami tahu, Ya Allah, dan urusan kami yang kami tidak tahu, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, Kau jadikanlah perhimpunan pada hari ini satu perhimpunan yang dirahmati dan perpisahan kami juga adalah perpisahan yang diberkati. Dekatkanlah kami kepada jalan syurga-Mu, Ya Allah, dan jauhkanlah kami daripada jalan-jalan neraka-Mu, Ya Allah. Allahumma inni a'udzubika minal hamdi wal hazan wa a'udzubika minal ajzi wal kasal wa a'udzubika minal jubni wal buh wa a'udzubika minal ghalabati daini wa qahri rijal. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakuna minal khasirin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azaban nar. Subhana rabbika izzati amma yasifun wa salamu alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin amin rabbal alamin.
Amin amin ya rabbal alamin. Majlis merakamkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan dan terima kasih kepada saudara Surveyor Kolej Sahri atas bacaan doa itu tadi. Semoga majlis kita pada hari ini berjalan dengan lancar dan dilimpahi berkat. Div-div kehormat dan para hadirin sekalian. Bak kata pepatah, tak kenal maka tak cinta. Oleh itu, majlis pada petang ini dengan rasa penuh takzim mempersilakan Yang Berusaha Profesor Media Teknologis Dr. Emma Marini Ahmad Zawawi menjalankan tugas penolong Naib Chancellor Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina yang juga merupakan Dekan Akademik dan Antarabangsa bagi menyampaikan ucapan alu-aluan dan pengenalan bagi Yang Berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Dipersilakan Yang Berusaha Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Yang Berusaha Dr. Salina Muhammad Ali, isteri kepada Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Yang Berusaha Profesor Town Planner Dr. Jamalun Laili Abdullah, Timbalan Naib Chancellor Jaringan Industri, Komuniti dan Alumni. Yang berbahagia Profesor Datuk Dr. Mizan bin Hitam, Penolong Naib Chancellor Institut Kepimpinan dan Pembangunan UiTM. Yang Berusaha Surveyor Rosni Nawati Ngah, Timbalan Ketua Pengarah Penilaian dan Perkhidmatan Harta. Yang Berusaha Surveyor Haji Azman Shah bin Haji Muhammad Arifin, President of Royal Institute of Surveyors Malaysia. Yang Berusaha Surveyor Subramaniam Arumugam, Presiden Persatuan Penilai, Pengurus Harta, Ejen Hartanah dan Perunding Harta Swasta Malaysia. Yang Berusaha Surveyor Haji Ishak Ismail, President of Malaysian Institute of Property and Facility Managers. Barisan pentadbiran kanan KAB, div-div kehormat dan warga KAB yang dikasihi sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi dan salam sejahtera. Salam keluarga UiTM dan salam Malaysia Madani. Alhamdulillah, bersyukur kita semua kehadrat ilahi kerana dengan limpah kurnianya, kita sama-sama dapat berkumpul pada petang yang berbahagia ini di Dewan Anek UiTM bagi sama-sama mengikuti dan mendengar syarahan Profesor yang merupakan satu tradisi dunia akademik yang sangat penting. Ianya akan disampaikan oleh Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Hadirin yang saya hormati sekalian, untuk pengetahuan semua, program syarahan Profesor ini dianjurkan oleh pihak Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina dan ianya merupakan satu medium bagi seorang profesor untuk mengetengahkan ilmu serta penemuan untuk disebarluaskan kepada masyarakat umum. Hadirin yang dihormati, saya selaku Dekan Akademik dan Antarabangsa, di samping menjalankan tugas penolong Naib Chancellor, dengan penuh rasa hormat dan takzim, ingin memperkenalkan Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi, satu susuk figura hebat yang telah memainkan peranan yang sangat signifikan dalam perkembangan pengajaran dan penyelidikan dalam bidang harta tanah di Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina. Ini termasuklah kolaborasi dengan pihak industri khususnya melalui penyeliaan, inovasi, perundingan dan sebagai pentadbir akademik. Anak ketiga daripada 6 adik-beradik dilahirkan pada 5 Mei 1964 di sebuah kampung kecil, kawasan Pasir Panjang Ulu, Kampung Gajah, Hilir Perak. Ayahanda beliau, Allahyarham Haji Nawawi Haji Bahudin, merupakan seorang guru dan bondanya Allahyarhamah Hajah Syarah Abbas seorang suri rumah. Beliau menamatkan pendidikan awal sebagai pelajar terbaik Sekolah Rendah Kebangsaan Inggeris St. Anthony, Teluk Intan pada tahun 1976. Bak kata pepatah, belum disuruh sudah pergi, belum dipanggil sudah datang. Beliau digambarkan sebagai seorang pelajar yang arif dan rajin. Seterusnya, beliau telah melanjutkan pengajian menengahnya di Malay College Kuala Kangsar, MCKK, dan pada tahun 1982 dan kemudiannya melanjutkan pengajiannya di peringkat A-level di Landerilo Technical College, Colwyn Bay, North Wales, United Kingdom. Pada tahun 1984, beliau menyambung pengajiannya di dalam bidang Land Management, Valuation Specializations di peringkat ijazah sarjana muda di University of Reading, England, United Kingdom. Dengan kecemerlangan akademik beliau, pada tahun 1995, beliau terus menyambung pengajiannya di peringkat Doktor Falsafah di University of Mid Glamorgan, Wales, United Kingdom, dan sekarang ini dikenali sebagai University of South Wales, dan dianugerahkan Doktor Falsafah di dalam bidang Real Estate Management, pengkhususan dalam Knowledge Engineering in Real Estate Appraisal. Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi telah memulakan kerjayanya sebagai eksekutif penilaian di firma perunding harta tanah antarabangsa iaitu Knight Frank Value, Kuala Lumpur pada tahun 1987. Beliau telah mengikuti latihan industri selama setahun di bahagian penilaian dan penyelidikan Mid Glamorgan Country Council, Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom sebagai penyelidik dan eksekutif penilaian pada 1990. Bak kata pepatah, bagaimana acuan, begitulah kuihnya, dan ke mana tumpahnya kuah kalau tidak ke nasi. Mengikuti jejak arwah bapanya sebagai pendidik, beliau memulakan kerjayanya sebagai ahli akademik atau pensyarah di Pusat Pengajian Persediaan Institut Teknologi MARA di bawah program berkembar yang dikenali sebagai Northern Consortium United Kingdom ITM NCUK. Pada tahun 2000, beliau menyertai Fakulti Seni Bina Perancangan dan Ukur FSPU sebagai pensyarah di Jabatan Pengurusan Hartanah Shah Alam. Hadirin dan hadirat sekalian, di peringkat FSPU dan UITM, Prof. Hadi telah diberikan kepercayaan oleh pengurusan universiti untuk menggalas pelbagai jawatan pentadbiran seperti Dekan di Institut Pengajian Siswazah UITM, Timbalan Dekan Penyelidikan dan Jaringan Industri FSPU, Ketua Pusat Pengajian Siswaza FSPU dan Ketua Pusat Pengajian Pengurusan Hartanah. Selain itu, beliau juga turut terlibat secara langsung dalam jawatankuasa tertinggi universiti sebagai ahli senat, jawatankuasa induk kurikulum universiti JKIKU, jawatankuasa induk penilaian akademik JKIPA dan jawatankuasa pembangunan dan kenaikan pangkat staf akademik Cluster Science and Technology. Di samping itu, beliau juga turut diberi kepercayaan sebagai pengurus projek 30,000 Shah Alam Campus Populations di bawah visi Special Project pada tahun 2011. Hadirin yang dihormati, kesarjanaan beliau adalah dalam bidang Corporate Real Estate, Organizational Behaviour, Real Estate Valuation Knowledge Modelling and Big Data Analysis in Real Estate Investment. Ini terbukti apabila beliau telah berjaya menyelia dan menamatkan lebih 20 orang pelajar peringkat ijazah Doktor Falsafah berkaitan bidang kepakaran tersebut. Beliau telah menghasilkan beratus kertas kajian yang diterbitkan di dalam jurnal dalam dan luar negara serta beberapa buku berkaitan bidang kepakaran beliau. Di samping itu, beliau pernah dilantik sebagai editor dan pengulas beberapa jurnal berimpak tinggi. Antaranya adalah International Journal of Built Environment and Sustainability, International Journal of Real Estate, the International Journal of Property Sciences, Planning Malaysia Journal, Built Environment Journal, Journal of Surveying, Constructions and Property, Journal of Design and Built Environment, Malaysian Journal of Sustainable Environment and Malaysian Construction Research Journal. Selain menjadi pakar rujuk dalam pembentukan program akademik dan penyelidikan melalui pelantikan sebagai pemeriksa luar di beberapa universiti awam MQA dan MQF dan panel dalam pembangunan dan semakan kurikulum program sijil perizinan harta tanah bagi lembaga penilai, pentaksir, ejen harta tanah dan pengurus harta Bovia. Beliau turut terlibat sebagai panel untuk jawatankuasa geran penyelidikan FRGS dan PRGS di peringkat KPT dan ahli teknikal dalam kumpulan Real Estate Industry Analysis Studies di bawah koordinator geran penyelidikan harta tanah NAPREC. Prof. Hadi juga mengetuai penubuhan beberapa program akademik peringkat ijazah tinggi khususnya program Sarjana Pelaburan Harta Tanah pada tahun 2006 dan terkini program Sarjana Pengurusan Hartanah Islam yakni satu-satunya program seumpama ini yang ditawarkan di seluruh dunia. Di peringkat kebangsaan, beliau telah dilantik sebagai panel pakar dalam bidang perumahan dari tahun 2021 oleh Kementerian Perumahan dan Kerajaan Tempatan KPKT dan ahli dalam jawatankuasa penubuhan Pusat Informasi Hartanah NAPIK di bawah Kementerian Keuangan Malaysia pada tahun 1999. Hadirin yang dikasihi sekalian, Prof. Hadi juga terlibat dalam penyediaan rancangan Malaysia ke-12 berkenaan agenda pemerkasaan Bumi Putera, Tanah Rizab Melayu dan Belanjawan Negara 2023 berkaitan perumahan. Di peringkat antarabangsa, beliau terlibat dalam Glamorgan Valuation Technologies Modelling Group, bahagian pasca siswazah antarabangsa dan penyelidikan Islamic Development Bank di Jeddah dan Konsortium Universiti Indonesia khususnya dalam pembangunan pendidikan pasca siswazah. Selain itu, beliau juga terlibat dalam penubuhan pelan pembangunan program akademik luar pesisir semasa berada di dalam Majlis Dekan Siswazah peringkat KPT. Di samping itu, Prof. Hadi juga terlibat dengan beberapa program bersama Akademi Kepimpinan Pendidikan Tinggi AKAP. Dunia akademik tidak dapat dipisahkan dengan geran penyelidikan dan perundingan. Beliau juga banyak terlibat dengan kerja-kerja perundingan seperti kajian pembangunan perumahan dalam penghasilan Pelan Induk Perumahan 2015 hingga 2035 di Negeri Sarawak oleh Kementerian Perumahan Kerajaan Negeri Sarawak. Model kompetensi pengurusan harta oleh Saim Dabi, properti serta beberapa kerja perundingan bersama PKNS dan CIDB dengan jumlah akumulatif sebanyak ringgit Malaysia 3.5, manakala jumlah akumulatif perolehan geran penyelidikan yang telah diterima oleh beliau adalah sebanyak ringgit Malaysia 927 dan 800,000. Pengiktirafan oleh badan profesional juga indikator keunggulan seorang ahli akademik. Justru itu, beliau merupakan ahli pertubuhan diraja Juruukur Malaysia, MRISM, Lembaga Teknologis Malaysia, MBOT. Selain itu, beliau juga merupakan ahli dalam Majlis Profesor Negara dan Majlis Profesor UiTM. Semoga dengan pencapaian dan ketokohan akademik yang berbahagia Prof dapat memberi inspirasi kepada kami untuk menjadi insan yang lebih cemerlang di masa hadapan, dan saya akhiri dengan serangkap pantun. Reading ke Wales mengejar impian, PhD diraih dengan cemerlang. Pengurusan hartanah bidang tumpuan, Profesor Hadi cekal terbilang. Tanpa melengahkan masa, marilah sama-sama kita mendengar buah fikiran dan cetusan minda dari seorang tokoh akademik Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina yang disegani, iaitu Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Oleh itu, saya dengan amat berbesar hati ingin menjemput yang berbahagia Prof untuk menyampaikan syarahan profesor beliau bertajuk Corporate Real Estate Management in Higher Education Institution. Dengan segala hormatnya dipersilakan. Sekian, terima kasih. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih kepada Yang Berusaha Profesor Madya Teknologis Dr. Emma Marini Zawawi, menjalankan tugas penolong Naib Chancellor Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina yang juga merupakan Dekan Akademik dan Antarabangsa, yang telah menyampaikan satu pengenalan biodata yang penuh karisma dan menjadi inspirasi kepada kita semua. Sebelum kita meneruskan majlis, sedikit makluman, acara kita ini telah ditayangkan secara live di UiTM channel. InsyaAllah, sebelum kita mendengar penyampaian syarahan Profesor UiTM pada petang ini, marilah sama-sama kita saksikan satu tayangan montaj yang telah disediakan oleh Bidang Harta Tanah dengan kerjasama Unit Komunikasi Korporat Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina untuk menggamit kembali memori perjalanan akademik dan kerjaya beliau. Sama-sama kita berikan tumpuan di layar hadapan untuk melihat sorotan, kenangan dan juga pencapaian Yang Berusaha Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi. Dipersilakan. Mohon para hadirin untuk bersabar ya, sebab gambar-gambar ni special, sudah lambat sikit keluar.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Tajuk syarahan Profesor saya adalah pengurusan harta tanah korporat untuk institusi pengajian tinggi. Inspirasi saya dalam menghasilkan buku dan juga syarahan Profesor ini adalah untuk berkongsi kepakaran saya membantu universiti dalam pengurusan aset harta tanah korporat masing-masing. Sebenarnya universiti telah banyak berjasa kepada saya dan juga kepada kita semua, kepada ibunda dan nenek moyang kita yang terdahulu dan juga kepada anak cucu kita, cicit kita di masa-masa akan datang. Adalah amat penting kepada kita membantu universiti dalam keadaan yang mencabar sekarang ini. Cabaran-cabaran dari segi penurunan jumlah enrolment pelajar, dari segi keperluan penjanaan pendapatan, memandangkan kekangan-kekangan yang terpaksa kita hadapi. Antara kekangan yang kita sedia maklum adalah kekangan kewangan, dan harta tanah aset korporat ini adalah satu bentuk strategi yang boleh kita bangunkan dengan lebih kemas untuk membantu universiti menjana pendapatan, dan seterusnya dengan pendapatan yang lebih baik ini akan dapat membantu universiti meningkatkan kualiti pengajaran, penyelidikan dan juga memberi sumbangan yang paling baik kepada masyarakat. Harapan saya ialah dengan ilmu yang dikongsikan ini akan dapat membantu kita sama-sama meningkatkan keupayaan universiti kita yang tercinta ini dalam pengurusan aset harta tanah masing-masing secara korporat untuk terus maju dan meningkat kepada satu tahap yang lebih tinggi.
Saya rasa bukan sahaja kita melihat sorotan kerjaya dan pencapaian yang berusaha Profesor, saya rasa kita dapat lihat Profesor makin lama makin muda. As the saying goes, age gracefully. Dengan ini, majlis dengan segala hormatnya menjemput dan mempersilakan yang berusaha Profesor Surveyor Technologies, Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi, bagi menyampaikan syarahan Profesor beliau bertajuk Corporate Real Estate Management for Higher Education Institution. Dipersilakan, Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Yang berusaha Profesor TPR Dr. Jamalun Lail Lee, Timbalan Naib Chancellor, Jaringan Industri, Community dan Alumni. Yang berusaha Profesor Madya, Teknologis Dr. Emma Marini Ahmad Zawawi, Dekan Akademik dan Antarabangsa, menjalankan tugas sebagai penolong Naib Chancellor Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina. Dekan-dekan Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina, Profesor Dr. Zulkifli Abdul Latif, Dekan Hal Ehwal Pelajar, Dr. Ahmad Shazrin Muhammad Azmi, Profesor Datuk Dr. Mizan bin Hitam, penolong Naib Chancellor Institut Kepimpinan dan Pembangunan UiTM, ILD. Yang berbahagia Surveyor Haji Azman Shah bin Haji Muhammad Arifin, Presiden Royal Institution of Surveyors Malaysia, RISM. Surveyor Subramaniam, anak lelaki Arumugam, Presiden Persatuan Penilai Pengurus Harta, Ejen Harta dan Perunding Harta Swasta Malaysia, PEPS. Surveyor Rosni Nawati binti Ngah, Timbalan Ketua Pengarah Penilaian dan Pengurusan Harta Operasi. Surveyor Aziah Muhammad Yusof, Timbalan Presiden Property Surveying Division, RISM. Surveyor Kamal Abdul Ghafur, Korusami, Pengarah AG Realty. Teknologis Muhammad Tarmizi Mahta, Managing Director 21 Realty, Sdn Bhd. Surveyor Nur Hisham, Pengarah Napik, Syafi'i, Pengarah Napik. Surveyor Aina Edayu Ahmad, Pengarah Inspan. Tuan Haji Anjaniman Abu Kasim, Pengarah IPC Group. Datuk Surveyor Rosli Atan, Managing Director Ian Scott. Surveyor Haji Zulkifli Abdullah juga dari Ian Scott, dan namanya terlalu panjang untuk saya sebutkan semua. Pelajar-pelajar saya, pemain-pemain industri, sahabat-sahabat saya dan juga sahabat-sahabat pelajar-pelajar saya yang paling utamalah, ya. Di sini dan juga di sana, iaitu di dalam alam maya, ya. Juga sahabat-sahabat saya di Indonesia, network saya di Indonesia, Middle East, juga kita share YouTube ini, dan juga di Afrika, Nigeria. Izinkan saya memulakan ucapan Profesor saya dengan pantun pembuka. Jarang saya memberi pantun, tapi sekali-sekali. Melati kuntum tumbuh melata, sayang merbah di pohon cemara. Assalamualaikum, mulanya kata, saya sembah pembuka bicara. Tajuk syarahan Profesor saya adalah Corporate Real Estate Management for Higher Education Institutions. Izinkan saya untuk menyampaikan syarahan saya dalam bahasa Inggeris. So the contents of my lecture will be under several main headings. Introduction to what is CRE itself, problems and challenges for public universities, managing the campus using corporate real estate management, the Malaysian higher education, dynamic changes in higher education, corporate real estate management, performance management, performance measurement, corporate real estate strategies for public universities, corporate real estate management portfolio direction, corporate real estate management framework for public universities, and finally, a little bit about possible directions. It is only appropriate for me to introduce what is corporate real estate management. To many of us, it is something that is part and parcel of our profession, but allow me to define it from an academic perspective. So basically, CRE means land and buildings that are owned by company, business that are mainly not in real estate business. So meaning university will fall under this category because university, the main core business of university is education. CRAM ETL 2000 also highlighted corporate real estate management in the context of managing real estate to maximize the value from the real estate and consequently value to the businesses. So meaning there is a wide array of institutions, of organizations that have corporate real estate as part of their portfolio. Despite having large proportion of their assets in the form of real estate, surprisingly, many corporations are not paying enough attention, according to research, to their real estate assets. And this is indeed something that we have to pay more attention and have more strategy to align it to the business aspirations. Corporate real estate is the management of real estate from a strategic point of view. And this is something that is a level ahead compared to the traditional property management, which focus more on the operational side of the real estate management, and also FM, or facilities management, which focus more on the tactical aspect of the real estate. In fact, strategic aspect to real estate is something that has not been given enough emphasis over the years. Even if we look at the professional qualification of many real estate professional bodies, the syllabus do not include strategic aspect in a more focused way. So, strategic aspect indeed is very important, and it is timely for us to inject more attention to it. What are the roles of CRE? The role of CRE mainly is to maximize the value from the real estate and also to make the organization more competitive. And CRE, they can be considered from two perspectives. One is the asset is used to generate income in terms of rental income mainly, and this is known as real estate as an investment asset. Another perspective to corporate real estate is looking at the real estate from the functional or operational asset, which focus more on supporting the activities of the businesses. And in the context of university, this will be focusing on real estate to run the university core businesses, which as we know are teaching and learning, research, and also contribution to the society. The focus of corporate real estate is to maximize the value. And the value need not only be in terms of financial, but the value from real estate should also be seen in a wider perspective in the context of social value, biodiversity, ecological value, cultural value, and so on. So the focus of corporate real estate basically is to enhance the value from the property. And value maximization should be seen in the context of benefits that will be generated from the real estate. So the role of the valuer is to look at the real estate not only in the context of the real estate as another asset of the university, but to consider the real estate as an asset that will generate the value of the business, generate value of the organizations, and of course generate value in terms of the cash flow of the organization. It is interesting to look into aspect of value creation and maximization. When we say we are creating value from the real estate, they actually means bringing benefits from a number of different perspectives. Hadi and Hadi, 1993, reflect that real estate value is created, changed, and destroyed by the interaction of forces of physical, political, economic, and social. But value need not be considered from a pure financial perspective. Especially now when we consider about ESG, when we consider about sustainable development, all aspects of value from environmental value, social value, and also economic value must all be gelled together to generate a better value to the organization. And lately, if we look at many literature, they are also emphasizing more on the spiritual value of the organization. Value is created from real estate development, investment, and management projects through entrepreneurial efforts and absorption of risks. In other words, if we want to create value from the real estate, we must be willing to take up the risks. Value won't be created if we do not want to take any risks. The other aspect to value is that the organization must be quick to perceive an opportunity. So value can only be created if the organization are sensitive about the opportunities surrounding them that will be generated from the real estate. Secondly, when we talk about creating value from the real estate, we must be able to think about change of use. And in many situations, many of the current use of an organization must be subject to change, whether we are prepared to do it or not. Thirdly, when we say value, when we want to create value, we must be willing to do something that others are not willing to do. In other words, we are breaking away from the status quo and we are venturing into something new which many have not done it. And of course, this will entail a lot of risks. And number 4 is basically we are doing something others are unwilling, as we mentioned before. And finally, we are taking the financial risk to make a guarantee payment in case others do not perform. In other words, if you want to create value, we must be able to have some financial support in case something goes wrong. The bottom line is that real estates must be managed in a strategic manner. The key word is strategic. And I was talking to some professionals a few days ago. Strategic thinking within the professional in our country and maybe in many other countries need to be given higher emphasis. To date, strategic aspect of real estate management has only been taught in universities, but they have not been actually translated into one of the requirements to achieve professional qualification. And this is a room for improvement. When we talk about strategy, real estate cannot be considered in isolation. When we talk about real estate, we must be looking at a holistic perspective. For example, we have to look at the people and the psychology, because the management of real estate will have to be sensitive to the people. And in universities, of course, the main clients or the main customers of the university include the students. When we manage real estate, we must be sensitive to the processes involved in the particular business and organization. And real estate also involves change of paradigm, change of place, and especially in universities now, when we talk about place of study, since the COVID-19 pandemic, this has been rather flexible, and physical being in the university is not something that is always necessary. When we manage real estate from a strategic angle, we must be thinking about the purpose of the organization. Where is the organization heading? And we have to align the management of real estate accordingly. And of course, corporate real estate must be able to position the organization at a level that suits the organization. In other words, for universities, for instance, if you are thinking about going global, our real estate must also be positioned towards becoming a global university, be it in the form of the quality of the facilities, the requirement of the clients, teaching, learning, and also research for that matter. Now, what actually inspires me to take up this topic as my professorial lecture? To be honest with you, choosing a topic for professorial lecture has been very challenging. It started with compiling all the research findings from my PhD students and compiling them in a way that can be presented to the general public. But I was also thinking about helping the university, and some of the knowledge from the students, from my research, can also be applied in the context of helping the universities. Now that our universities are not without problems, yeah? There are very common problems, not only among Malaysian universities, but also worldwide. Example like the low utilization rates and high expenses for operating and maintaining the facilities. We will be very surprised and concerned if we know the statistics of how much university assets have been fully utilized. According to research in European and many other countries, university only use, on average, 32% of their space in any one time. And after COVID-19, the utilization of university space, not only in our country, has shown a very drastic decline. The figure that has been quoted by Bureau Research Analytics is 19.5%. So they are saying that in most of the time, universities are using or fully utilizing less than 1/5 of their total space available in a productive way. So meaning, university have a lot of excess assets, which is about 80% of the size of the universities. And if you read many papers that relate to why this actually happened, this is very interesting to consider that this might relate to management policies. This might be related to the way we handle the space management and so on. But the bottom line is that the low rate of space utilization in university should be looked at from a more positive perspective. Perhaps the university space can be let out, open out, to generate additional income to the university, which is, as we are well aware now, are facing challenging time, especially from a financial point of view. There are other common problems in public universities. Some of them are buildings are historically designed, and now, because we are using more of technology, then the design can be obsolete. And also, another problem in many universities is that there is a growing trend for universities to go global. And this must be translated into global thinking, especially in the context of real estate. There are many other problems that can be associated to real estate, but I will leave it to you to read, to refer to my book, hopefully. This is a very interesting aspect to corporate real estate, comparing our dear country with other countries. If we look at countries like Hong Kong, like Japan, even our close neighbor Singapore, they are considered high-income countries. We can see a lot of green and yellow there. What green actually means is full autonomy to the university. And yellow means some autonomy that the university has. Yeah? But red actually means autonomy that is very restricted. Yeah? So we are not saying that which model is better, but what is most important is that university must be creative enough to come up with a lot of new ideas, especially in the context of managing their corporate real estate, respecting the government ruling, but at the same time going in a very aggressive manner, injecting technology and new kind of business models. The other problems with our universities is that the corporate real estate management department has not been a department that is the focal point within the university setup. And because of that, this might lead to decisions that have some loopholes within it. And this gives us a lot of need to think about better management of the corporate real estate and having a proper structure to it. There are many challenges of higher education, as we know. Like now, the teaching methods are going virtual, meaning a lot of corporate real estate are freed for other users other than teaching, for instance. And there are a lot of expectations that we have to be sensitive about, that people expect from the university. And in the context of our nation, beloved nation, we know that the clients or some of our students' expectations, especially from other countries, they are increasing and showing an upward trend. And we have to face up with that, coming up with better solutions in the context of corporate real estate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we manage the corporate real estate, we have to be sensitive to the actors and stakeholders within the corporate real estate. They are the policy makers, and so on. They are the users, and also the technical management, and also the controllers. So the actors of the university needs and requirement must be paid more attention, or even better attention. And it linked to the input variables in terms of support from the strategic perspective, the financial perspective, the functional, and the physical perspective. So whenever we manage the corporate real estate in a campus, or even within the university for that matter, we have to be thinking from a strategic perspective, the financial, which is very important now, functional, also the physical aspect. And then understanding the asset performance is very much crucial, actually. So when we talk about corporate real estate, it must be related very much with the cash flow of the organization. And we must be sensitive to the accountancy standards as well as the financial model and so on. Now, the key performance of the university must be considered from a competitive advantage. So in other words, when we manage our corporate real estate, we must be able to make the university more competitive in terms of attractiveness of the city, the output from the diploma, degrees, PhD, and so on, and also the city inhabitants. This is something that is very important. We shouldn't detach ourselves from the city inhabitants. But a big issue in many universities now is profitability. So we are not here just to teach, because teaching without thinking about the financial sustainability will be crippling to the university in the long run. So profit maximization from corporate real estate is something that must be given a lot of priority, higher priority in the university strategic planning. There are many ways of generating values to corporate real estate. And this is considered from various perspectives, from the employee perspective, enabling flexibility from the space, promoting the marketing, sales, and brand, and also generating value from the real estate. If you look at universities, we should be thinking about optimization of the value and as well as maximization of the value. Optimization means using the best to the space that we already have. But maximization of value is looking at potential aspect like land that is available for business development, property development, and so on. In Malaysia, higher education institutions are under the Ministry of Higher Education. We have 20 public universities, and the students' enrollment is almost 600,000. And university institutions from a private context in the private sector is 434 institutions, 36 polytechnics and 105 community colleges. So we have a large number of institutions that are involved in education that need to be given extra attention in the context of the corporate real estate management. And if we look at the figure and the number of enrollment is showing some declining trends. And this will, well, it might translate itself into some excess space to the universities, which must be managed in the best possible manner. Internationalization is one of the biggest agenda in many universities, and Malaysia is no exception. So if we compare ourselves with other countries, our international students' enrollment target is very, very high, which is 250,000 population. And from my meager experience as a dean from the Institute of Postgraduate Studies from 2017 and 2019, when dealing with international students, their expectation of the quality of the real estate space, facilities are tremendously very, very high. And we must be able to meet their requirement, their expectation, if we want to secure their enrollment to the university. And universities are changing, and one of the very obvious changes that we have to embrace, whether we like it or not, is in terms of technology. Technology is now within the higher institutions set up and within the campus and so on. And university, of course, must take heed and inject more incentive that will drive the efforts toward enhancing the technology. And this is something that most of us are aware that our traditional university contexts are changing very rapidly. From being traditional brick and mortar, we are moving away from the pure brick and mortar to a more virtual context of the university. And virtual context of the university will, of course, as we know, need some corporate real estate management strategy that will be able to enhance the value from the university. If you look at the prediction of the higher education in year 2030, we can see that there are a lot of changes that are going to take place. From the traditional learning to become a more virtual learning, and now, since we are talking about technology, mass customization will be in place, and university are also expected to be navigating the whole nation. And university should also be given, as we know, the freedom to provide natural learning, which manifests itself in terms of long life learning and so on. So these are some of the driving forces of corporate real estate in the year 2030 higher education. There is a need for the corporate real estate to be more flexible. We must be able to move away from the traditional way of teaching and learning. We must be very creative in coming up with our learning spaces. Now we are talking about common learning spaces, virtual learning spaces, and they are happening very, very rapidly. And from trend all around the world, and to a certain extent in our country, the supply of learning space will become more than what is actually being used. And this is something that university should be seeing it from a more positive point of view by looking at potential opportunity to generate income from it. One of the things about university education, university campuses, that their space are a plethora of space. They are so diverse, they are so unique, and they have potential to create a lot of value. So if we look at university type of use, not only are they academic, they are also having spaces that have potential for businesses, potential for residential use, for retail, leisure, and infrastructure. I've been to National University of Tokyo. When I entered the university campus, even now I still remember, I thought I was entering a part of the city. What happened in National University of Tokyo is that they blend the university campus with the whole development of the city. And this trend is happening in many other universities, especially in European countries like Netherlands, Finland, and all that, where the campus and the communities are within the same area. Meaning university campus, university populace, and the community, they are the togetherness of something that is wonderfully crafted in many of the universities. Korean is another aspect, another country that actually blends their campus with the community itself. So if you look at Shah Alam campus, the campus will be in the Section 7 commercial center, where students and the general public will be integrated. As it is now, traditional universities have a very clear barrier, at least physically, between the campus and the community. And this is something that we might like to ponder in the future years. Corporate real estate, they must be measured. Like us human beings, in order for us to determine at what level we are now, we must be able to measure it. So corporate real estate can be measured from various perspectives. From the financial perspective, which is the concern of many of us now. From the business process perspective, the learning and growth perspective, and also the customer perspective. In many situations, all these aspects must be balanced, and they are translated into balanced scorecard and those kind of tools. So a university must manage its corporate real estate so that there is a balance from being able to generate income, from being able to look at it from a business perspective, and also as a platform to generate learning and growth, and also being sensitive to our customer. There was a study done in 2013 with a research team at high degree level, showing some of the universities in Malaysia in terms of its performance from the perspective of customer satisfaction, core activities, university corporate image, learning and growth, and financial. Yeah? And something that should be of interest to us is that corporate real estate has not been given enough emphasis in terms of generating income from it. If we can see, the financial side is below 6, most of them. There was a research that is currently done, actually, looking at universities in our country and where have they put corporate real estate in the context of several components. Yeah? So if we look at the second column there, corporate real estate management in many Malaysian public universities has looked at it from an income generation perspective. So if we look at our universities in Malaysia, most of our universities have realized the importance of corporate real estate, and it shows in the context of the ticking on the tables. Yeah? So most universities are looking at corporate real estate from the point of view of source of income, control the real estate costs, marketing, flexibility, increase camper user satisfaction. In UITM, we call it happiness index, which is also linked partly. Support innovation, increase productivity, and also control physical risks. Yeah? There are very few universities that do not have all these elements. But despite the research findings, there are still plenty of rooms for improvement. So this is the concern of most top management in many universities now, is how can we generate the from the corporate real estate revenue, how can we generate profit from the corporate real estate, and how can we ensure that the revenue and the profitability from the corporate real estate keep on increasing. And there are a lot of themes that the study have found that can be useful to many universities. When we talk about corporate real estate, it shouldn't divorce itself from other disciplines. So these are the disciplines that are very, very crucial to corporate real estate: the management of the building, the management of the property in terms of repair, maintenance on what we have, and also the asset management of it from consideration of the value aspect to it, and also a collection of corporate real estate in terms of the portfolio. So corporate real estate must not detach itself from all these various disciplines which already are within the university. Most universities have building management section, property management, asset management, and to a certain extent portfolio management. But there are still plenty of enhancement that can be explored. Yeah? So these are some of the setup of corporate real estate management in our public universities. Yeah? But if we look at the structure that we have now, the corporate real estate in terms of the thinking that need to be embodied within the management of the real estate only occupies a very peripheral position within the university. There is no one clear section called corporate real estate management within the university. So most corporate real estate management or strategic perspective to the management of corporate real estate take place within the pejabat pembangunan, pejabat facility, and they are only rather one of the units, not a standalone unit that have more autonomy. So this is something that perhaps university might like to take on board. Yeah? What is important when we manage corporate real estate in university is to look at it from a strategic perspective by aligning the corporate real estate to the corporate strategy. All universities have corporate strategy, and the corporate real estate must be aligned to it. Yeah? For example, in many universities now, we are moving towards globalization, as we mentioned, innovation, and so on. So how can corporate real estate support that kind of aspiration? So meaning, all these decisions are made at a very high levels, but according to our research findings, we found that the top management and the corporate real estate division should be enhancing their collaboration and perhaps having a very focused synergistic approach towards taking the university to a higher level, which is happening in many universities, but there are still plenty of rooms for improvement. And the research actually found out, based on SAM PLS model, highlighting that if we manage the corporate real estate properly, then it will just be aligned to the aspiration of the university. The research finding found that there is a positive relationship between positive corporate real estate management and the performance of the university as a whole. Now, before ending my speech, and before looking at some benchmark from other European universities that have actually embraced this concept of corporate real estate management, my suggestion is that we need to collect data of corporate real estate in a very comprehensive manner. And one of the first things that we would be best considering is to have a very detailed profile of the assets that the university have. How much space that we have, where are the space, the use that is used for the space, how much utilization, occupancy rate to the space, what are the potential other potential use that we can introduce, and so on. Otherwise, if we do not have a proper records of our assets and measure their performance, most of us will be left in the dark, and for all that we know, most of the assets can serve as a liability because we have to pay the, certain taxes, rent, quit rent, and so on. So it's almost out cash flow without any potential for generating inflow from the assets. But the bottom line is that we do not know the actual extent of our assets and the performance of our assets. Just like us, how can we manage our own self if we do not know the components of our body and also the aspect to it, and measuring the performance of our health from that? So a lot of suggestions, but I conclude many of the suggestions are talking about problems. The first start to corporate real estate management is to actually profile of all our assets and measure their performance. And from there, identify which assets have potential to be creating added value to the university, which is a tall order, but whether we like it or not, it's very, very high time for us to be thinking seriously about it. Maybe some universities are ahead of others in terms of their corporate real estate assets, and measuring the performance regularly, but not all are having this strategy. So allow me just to conclude a few of my final slides to talk about examples of university in Finland. The Helsinki University of Technology. What happened is that this university was established in the 1950s. And then the university merged with three other, this is in Finland, they are established in the 1950s, and they merged with three other universities in Finland in 2010. Yeah? And from the merging of the university, they tend to realize that they need to do something about their corporate real estate management. And these are the things that they have done actually. When the Helsinki University of Technology, they also have purchased land outside the campuses within the housing area. So they blend the university together with the housing area within the locality, which seldom happen in our context. Yeah, it is happening very rapidly in many other countries where there is a very thin dividing line, and even we do not realize the demarcation, the boundaries between the campuses and the general public. Dipolo Alto University is also being renovated extensively. This is also another aspect of corporate real estate which actually changed the building from a traditional form to a modern form that will be able to accommodate requirements of modern education. These are some of the examples that are provided. Another example is Technical University of Delft from Netherlands, which renovate their heritage buildings. Most of the buildings are old, but they are willing to spend a lot of money to generate a lot of new spaces within the context of an old building. Allow me to conclude the lecture by showing you a very simple slide, a simple video. Thank you. So some concluding remarks. Malaysian higher education institutions must strengthen their financial capability, reassess their financial planning, and re-evaluate their real estate assets. Secondly, public universities shall be given some autonomy to make their own decisions and have the autonomy to lead their own path, which is happening, but this will come with expectation for universities to become more creative, more innovative, with the help of the ministry, definitely. Thirdly, the corporate real estate management department should involve actively in each stage where real estate decisions are made. In other words, we need a very focused division that look into corporate real estate. And finally is to study the viability of Greater Malaysia as an education hub. And this is a must, and we must be able to champion any efforts towards making our nation a global destination for international students. With that, Alhamdulillah, I conclude my professorial lecture, and humbly I hope that some of the sharing we will be able to trigger or spark some discussions and future efforts towards taking our higher educations to the next level. Dengan lafaz bismillah, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Setinggi-tinggi tahniah diucapkan kepada Yang Berusaha, Profesor Surveyor Teknologis Dr. Abdul Hadi Nawawi atas syarahan Profesor beliau sebentar tadi. Tepukan, sekali lagi tepukan yang gemuruh untuk beliau. Dimohon Yang Berusaha Profesor untuk kekal berada di atas pentas, dan tak salah untuk saya sum upkan sedikit apa yang disampaikan oleh Profesor. Our dear Prof has imparted a few notable points. There are definitely a room for the university to elevate their revenue generation, in which university globally practice leveraging their real estate asset to further enhance their revenue. And by making the university holistically competitive is indispensable, not just about the program offered per se, but by incorporating the corporate real estate strategy through asset value maximization. Dengan ini, majlis menjemput Yang Berusaha, Profesor Madya Teknologis Dr. Emma Marini Ahmad Zawawi menjalankan tugas penolong Naib Chancellor Kolej Pengajian Alam Bina untuk mengiringi Yang Berusaha Profesor Tom Planner, Dr. Jamalul Laili Abdullah, Timbalan Naib Chancellor Jaringan Industri, Komuniti dan Alumni UiTM untuk menerima cenderamata dari